Smithfield in all its glory. Talk about wet day. Oh, hopefully it won't be too busy inside. That'll be the compensation for it. But yeah, it's turned into a very wet day. So much for dry period, the dry season. Well, heading up towards the shops. Just got to go and have another bout with the vampire. Got to give some blood. So I do that about once a month. So one of the things you got to do. It's quite a nice morning. Quite cool, of course. It's in the middle of winter, to be expected. And I've been keeping a very close eye on what's been happening over in Ukraine. And there's been plenty of things to talk about this week, of course, with the Kherson Dam exploding and flooding quite a large area of one of the obelisks. Not obelisk, what are they calling it? Yeah, I'll put it up on screen. Like one of these, the areas of in that part of of Ukraine down the south, heading towards Crimea. The problem is that there's so much crap in that water, a lot of oil, tons of oil as part of the mix, that apparently it can ruin the soil down there and put it out of commission for cropping for about 3 years. Given that, it is really hard to believe that the Ukrainians would actually be the people doing that particular, causing that particular rupture in the dam. It just doesn't make sense. Although arguments have been made from both sides, Russians have accused the Ukrainians and the Ukrainians have responded by accusing the Russians. Big surprise. But logic would say that it's highly unlikely that it was the Ukrainians who did that. It just doesn't make sense. And I don't think they're that bloody minded. Whereas I do believe that there's an element in the Russian leadership who certainly are more than bloody minded enough to do something like that. So this is not evidence, it's circumstantial, but I've got to fall on the side of saying it's definitely the Russians who blew it up. And they didn't even care about their own troops, except for the equipment. Apparently they told the troops with heavy equipment to move out, but they left the poor bastards in foxholes and trenches to drown. So there's a pattern behaviour that's been going on for many, many years. Human life doesn't seem to mean much in the Soviet and Russian psyche. So, yeah, very sad. My spinach from over there at the grocery store, $3.50, which is only 50 cents more than what the supermarkets charge. Although they're still market price is $3. I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, I'm actually heading now towards Trinity Beach practice because the Kewarra Beach pathology lady didn't show. She called in sick. So I think it's the first time I've actually haven't been able to go to the pathology because the nurse was sick. That's unusual. I mean, because I've gone a number of times over the years and I've never struck that. It's the first time ever. So maybe I'm just lucky because, I mean, people do get sick. But first time it's happened to me. There you go. Anyway, I'll walk down to the mighty Miami Road where that massive amount of construction took place. And then I'll cut down to Nova Street and then head to Trinity Beach GP's, which is down the road here a bit. The only good thing about this is it forces me to go to Trinity Beach so I can actually finally buy my multigrain rolls. I've been putting it off. I was contemplating getting on the e-bike, but I just don't feel up to it. The seat's been raised a little bit, so I'm a bit reticent to use it, but I'll have to get on it at some stage. It's getting ridiculous. It's been probably 6 weeks since I've ridden it. So, but I just don't feel motivated today to do it. I'm test driving my new backpack, and that seems to be working out okay. Not that anything can really go wrong with the backpack. The zips seem to be better made. Some nylon zips, I think. Maybe the other ones were metal, but these ones seem to glide quite easily, and hopefully get a bit more time, a bit more use out of them over the years. I've had the other one for a couple of years. It's been a very good backpack, probably about 4 years. But the zips are basically stuffed now, so it's time to move on. 29 bucks for a new backpack. At least inflation isn't super bad in that respect, but that's straight from China, of course. Apparently the Chinese are reducing the prices of a lot of their manufactured goods because the demand, international demand, is dropping like a stone. So all indications are we're in for a recession worldwide. I think Germany's already officially in recession, so there you go. It's just a matter of time now. And also read that our productivity is reducing. That's a really bad sign. So that's why our governments are so desperate to get so much immigration in, because to disguise the fact that the productivity per worker is dropping, so we're becoming dumber as a country, less productive. Can't go on like this. We need to change things. Need to basically become smarter as a country. And God, what is going on here? Look at that traffic jam at there's usually no traffic around here. Wow, well that's a first. Oh, roadworks, of course. Good old road, yeah. Actually, the road surface does need a bit of work down there. So it'll be good if I ever get back on that e-bike. So this is Miami Road from a pedestrian perspective. So this is the magnificent connecting road between the beaches. Apparently, the lady I normally see at Kewarra, she's actually on a cruise at the moment to Papua New Guinea, of all places. So she's not actually on the roster at the moment anyway. And there's somebody filling in, supposed to take her place, and that's the person who called in sick. So I don't know if this technically counts as a no-show, because the regular person wasn't the one that pulled out. So not that it matters. I mean, anyway, I'm going to walk down, now I'm going to walk back a different way. I'm going down where I'd normally take the push bike, which is down towards that little park, and then to Kewarra Street. So I'll be home in about a quarter of an hour, I hope. Then I'll finally have my coffee in the morning. I held off on that, but I didn't have to wait for anyone else either. I thought there'd be a bit of a queue because there's no one at the Kewarra, so it was okay. So just all the extra walking, but it'll probably make me feel better. Actually, I'm feeling a bit blah, and you know, apparently it does get the endorphins going, so not such a bad thing. But the thing is, I've also got another hour walk to and from the beach house, the Savo, so I'm really copping it big time today. But nothing compared to what Yvonne and Steve do, especially Yvonne. She would work several hours each day, by the way it sounds to me anyway, so must be super fit. But I think they both had pretty stressful jobs and things, so it's probably a good antidote, I should say, to do all this exercise, and helps relieve stress that's probably built up over the years if you're in jobs that are demanding. So this is a very, very healthy environment up here. So it's probably a very wise move by them, I think. Sunday, I'm about to embark upon my first e-bike ride for probably a month. The seat has been adjusted. It's a little higher than what it was. You can see that little bit of shock absorbing material just there, the rubber. It was actually right down to that point when my next door, John, sort of my next door neighbour, put it right down the bottom there. That might have caused it to slip right down in that shaft. I'm not sure, but it's a little higher than what it was, so I'm a little worried about getting on it, but we'll see how we go. The main thing is I can straddle over there in these particular pants, and that's the main concern, because I don't think that the seat height matters that much. It's more I've just got to be able to go over this beam, because that's the major hassle with the bike. If it was a step through, it'd be down like that and there'd be no problem at all, but because it's slightly elevated, I've just got to be careful because it is a heavy bike. Anyway, we'll give it a go. I want to get on the damn thing and give it a go. It is Sunday, it's the best day to go down. Got to buy some grog. I had an alcohol-free day yesterday, and the Tigers won against Fremantle over in Fremantle. It was a very good match, and I thought they were gone because Fremantle was pegging them back big time in the third quarter, but they held on. So that was a very good win. So the new coach has had 2 wins and 1 loss, so not a bad record so far. We'll see how it all goes. I just saw 2 guys on a skateboard, electric skateboard. I knew that'd send Steve right off if he saw it, but I wasn't fast enough to catch it. I now have hands, actually they're cleared up a bit. I had a bit of grease on my hands because the bloody chain had come off this bike, so I had to put it on before I could go. I thought it was a bit strange, I was getting no pushback, but the ride was fine once I got that fixed. So, and the seat, a higher seat makes no difference. The main thing is to be able to get over the straddle that. Once I've done that, I'm fine, because you lift yourself up anyway, and it probably should be a little bit higher just so I can stretch the legs out, but I'm not a purist. Anyway, it's a nice day. See, the BOM has gone to sleep for 2 months, so we can't check the radar, which is unbelievable. But anyway, I'll just get the lock off the bike and get moving again down Poolwood. Well, it was a beautiful day yesterday, Monday, but today, as you can see, totally overcast. It's spitting rain, and we've had quite a bit of wet weather the last week or so, which is a bit unusual for this time of year when it's supposed to be dry. There was a dog across the road around 9 o'clock last night, maybe even up till about 10 o'clock, just kept barking. And you really wonder, if the owners were home, why the hell didn't they just shut it up? Or maybe they just left it to its own devices, but they shouldn't do that, because it was really yapping loud. And, I had the door shut and could still hear it. So, not good. Of course, it's inevitable. I came across a dog walker as I left the house. As I say, it's pretty standard up here. Yeah, look how damp it is. I've got my new backpack, which seems to be working out pretty well. I definitely needed a new one, and I think the zips are definitely better quality than what I had. They seem to slide really easily, and there's more pockets as well. The only thing this backpack doesn't have, which I did use occasionally, is there's the little expanders on the sides where you can put your bottles. That was quite good. So that's the only thing it's missing. Apart from that, it's fine. There's a bike rider down there. I don't think it'd be Trevor. I think I might have seen Trevor riding with a companion a week or so ago down Cottesloe. Yeah. I was actually on the footpath, the real footpath, so he couldn't have a go at me. So, fairly safe that day. It's surprising I've only copped him once, because, you know, I've walked up to this bus stop many times, and his place is just past the bus stop. So it is a bit strange. Seems as if it's all happening in Ukraine. The offensive is going ahead. Now we're finally getting the Ukrainian side of the story as well as the Russians. Of course, the Russians are habitual liars when it comes to situation on the battlefield. You take everything they say with a grain of salt. It's hard enough covering wars, finding out what's actually happening without one side just blatantly lying continually. But the Ukrainians have a more measured approach to what they report, and can be taken with a little bit more seriousness with what they're saying. And they seem to be making steady progress. They've lost some equipment. They've lost a couple of Leopard tanks apparently, which is not nice, but it's just part of war. You're going to lose material. You're going to have soldiers die. Funnily enough, the figures for yesterday were fairly low when it came to the number of estimated Russian casualties, only about 540. It has gone over double that. Well, double, 110, 1,100 I think was the highest, something like that. So relatively low, so it's a bit of a lull in proceedings, although these must be just estimates. I mean, no one really knows how many people have died on a battlefield. It's a guesstimate. So again, take everything with a grain of salt, but it does look as though at the moment where we're at is the Ukrainians are breaking through the Russian defences systematically, and there's about 3 tiers of defence. So they're getting through the first one, which apparently is the toughest, and they've already broken through there in a few fronts, and they've still got a lot of forces in reserve, so we haven't got the full-on frontal assault happening yet. They're still probing, in effect, finding where the weaknesses are in the Russian lines, and then they'll punch through, and at some stage we'll see a huge amount of territory being taken back. But that could take a week or two before something spectacular occurs, because at the moment it's steady progress, much faster than what the Russians were making. I mean, we are talking kilometres as opposed to metres in the case of Russia when it came to their offensive, which was a real dud. So it's going okay, but yeah, war isn't pretty. It's not for the faint-hearted, and it takes time, and it's going to shorten a fair few people's lives, which is the tragedy. But I don't blame the Ukrainians fighting for their independence, fighting to get their own country back. I think that's a laudable pursuit, but we'll see how it all plays out. I'm also fascinated to see what happens to Russia itself. I really do believe it will disintegrate into a number of different countries. It's such a large land area, it's absurd to think it's one country anyway. If nothing else, you think Siberia would be an independent country. It's so far away from Moscow, so it just doesn't make sense. Anyway, there's my bus, so it's all looking good for my journey today. It's getting the 110 down to here, but the weather looks like it's turning nasty, so I might get caught in rain. Might have been better off waiting for the 111. Also, there's a big fire, big plumes of smoke in the hills just behind the university, James Cook University campus. And as the bus was departing from that stop, a fire engine with its lights flashing entered the premises. So it's quite a lot of smoke. So it looked like a major bushfire. So yeah, I wonder what the upshot of that is. Anyway, I'll pick up a bottle of cheap red. Worst comes to worst, I might just go to the bus shelter and wait for the 111. I don't think I want to walk in. The weather's looking a bit dodgy, so happy to get a bit of exercise, but not if it's pissing down. This crappy weather, seeing there's absolutely no sign of a bus. There's no bus timetable, so I don't think. Let's have a look at that. Wonder if there is one on this side. No, No bus timetable at the terminus. What a crappy company Kinetic are. Look at that. Isn't that pathetic? Yet in my bus stop there is a timetable, so work that one out. God, they're idiots. Anyway, I'm going to walk home because I'll get there faster walking than waiting for the damn bus. And if I want to wait on the other street, which would be a bit faster, there's no shelter for buses. So you're pretty screwed around here. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you think there's anything there of use to you or entertainment or whatever. And either do that or give me a thumbs up, or if you're feeling really energetic, do both. That'd be great.